Jim Baker came into this world on September 13th, 1943 in South Dakota, the second oldest of 5 children. From 64 to 68, he worked construction on hydroelectric dams in the Missouri River in South Dakota, missile sites in North Dakota, iron ore plants in Minnesota, and then moved back to South Dakota in 1966 and worked on the I-90 interstate highway. He parked his trailer house on his father-in-law's ranch in St. Ange, South Dakota. His father-in-law, George Frick, was a custom harvester. He had been custom harvesting from Texas to North Dakota since 1944. And after the road job was over in 67, he moved to Broadus, Montana to work in the oil field for drilling rigs. Worked in the oil fields in Gillette, Wyoming and Castle Rock, Colorado for 2 years. Jim went to his father-in-law's ranch for Christmas in 1969, and his father-in-law asked him if he wanted to go on the harvest run with him. He told him yes, but wanted to own a combine, not just be a hand. He had 4 410 Massey combines at that time. Those combines were 3 years old. He traded for 3 new 1970 510 Massey combines, and one was Jim's. They went to cut wheat in 1970, 71 in Winters, Texas, Spearman, Texas, Jim, Kansas, Midland, South Dakota, Fraser, Montana, and then back to Spearman, Texas to harvest milo. At that time, there were 14 drilling rigs running out of Spearman, so he took a job on a drilling rig to make enough money to live on and continued to harvest and work on the drilling rigs each year. At the end of harvest in 1973, his father-in-law decided to sell his ranch in South Dakota and buy a ranch in Arkansas and quit harvesting. So Jim bought his 2 combines. In 1974, he traded the old combines for 3 1974 760 Masseys. They cost $17,500 apiece. In August of '78, Glenn Franklin, a longtime custom harvester from Grass Range, Montana, called Jim to see if he was interested in harvesting 4,000 acres of corn in Deerfield, Kansas. The farmer wanted someone that would buy a 1480 International axial flow and cut with him, as he had also a 1480 combine. He agreed to buy the combine if Glenn Franklin would run it to harvest the corn on percentage wages. He still wanted to harvest milo in Spearman, Texas. The 1480 International cost was $37,500. Everything turned out good with this corn job, and later he harvested as much as 15,000 acres of corn in the Garden City area. During the summer of 1978, L.G. Flippin from Gruber, Texas, asked Jim if he'd be interested in taking his combines to Raleigh, California to help him cut wheat. And in 1983, he had 4 1688 case combines at a cost of $95,000 each. He harvested wheat for several different farmers in the Raleigh area. One of them was Tellis Ranch, owned by Dick Tellis of Firebaugh, California. He'd never met him, and Jim only knew the farm manager, and the farm manager told him that Dick Tellis was going to manage a large farm in Gila Bend, Arizona, and they were going to need someone to harvest their wheat. So Jim called Dick and asked him if he wanted to go goose and pheasant hunting in South Dakota, and that he was going to talk to him about harvesting the wheat in Arizona. He agreed to go, and after the hunt was over, he told Jim to come to Arizona, and they'd signed a contract to harvest the 12,000 acres of irrigated wheat. He harvested the wheat on the Paloma Ranch from '85 to '89. During those years, he traded for 7 new combines each year. And at that time, Jim was harvesting over 100,000 acres of wheat and 35,000 acres of corn. After the Paloma Ranch sold in 1989, he had to find more harvesting jobs in Arizona. Actually ended up with more acres. He traded his 7 combines for 8 new ones. His son had helped him on the harvest all his life, and now he was old enough to run a crew. And his son-in-law also went with him, and he could run a crew. From 1990 to 1995, he traded for 8 new combines each year. Case IH gave him prototype combines to run during those years, sometimes running as much as 11 combines. They were the first ones to haul 2 combines out of the factory on 1 trailer. So he filed for patent in 1993 on the trailer. 2 trailer companies infringed on the patent, and he filed a lawsuit against them. He sold the patent to them in 1997 for $150,000. From 1970 to 1995, the people that helped him were George Frick, his father-in-law, Glenn Franklin, helped him get started harvesting corn, and L.G. Flippin, who took him to California to harvest wheat. In 1995, they were harvesting over 150,000 acres of wheat, 35,000 acres of corn, and 10,000 acres of other crops per year. Interestingly enough, in 1995, the cost of a new combine was $168,000. In 2011, Jim's grandson Blaine went into partnership with him, and they're running a 5-combine operation out of Spearman, Texas. Jim's hobbies include working, talking about politics, and drinking coffee at the parts store. He loves his grandchildren and great-grandchildren more than anything, and they know him as Pa. Jim Baker, it's great to have him as a 2019 inductee in the U.S. Custom Harvesters Incorporated Hall of Fame.